And now inside animations, select them all and move them inside character and say move here. Now it's gonna move all the animations. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing for all the other characters so that we can keep it all organized. And then inside assets, we have blend spaces, and again for blend spaces, let's say close that, and this will be again character and weapons, character, and I'll first move here, and again create another folder called weapons. Okay, and we don't need to have subfolders inside, that will be too much. And then again for blueprints, character and weapons, put the character inside the character folder or the character anim blueprint, soldier anim blueprint. And for the materials, again gonna do the same thing. So character and weapons. Okay, and select these guys, put them in character, move them to the character folder. Physics assets, same thing, character, and weapons, and drag and drop it inside character. There you go. Skeletal meshes, character, weapons, right click, new folder, weapons, drag the soldier mesh, drop it in here, good to go. For skeleton, again new folder, character, and first drop that inside, and that's a soldier skeleton. Move in, and again right click and say new folder, weapons. And we do the same thing for textures. That's the last part, and select them all, move inside character, good to go. Finally weapons. Now we are good to import the weapons. So I'll do that inside skeletal meshes, inside weapons, and I'll go back and I'll bring in the AK-47. In fact, I'll bring them all. Now I'll bring this AK-47 and the M4A1 and select that. I'll drop this in here, and we want to bring this in as a skeletal mesh, and we're not going to select the skeleton, and we want the engine to create the skeleton for us exactly what we want. So I'm going to keep this as none, so it'll create a skeleton for us. And then after that, I'll say import materials and textures, that's okay, and I'll just say import all, and import all. Okay, so you can ignore that, and once you come here, you can see that you have the silencer, the M4A1 weapon 2, the AK-47 physics asset, and the AK-47, and this is silencer, weapon 2, and AK mat. So let's first rename these materials. So I'm going to name this to M underscore AK-47, AK-47, and this will be, I think that's the mesh itself, and this is silence. This would be the M4A1. So I'll just rename this to M4A1, and this will be M4A1 underscore silencer, and I can get rid of this M4A1 silencer. Alright, and this is the material, and this is the material for the silencer, M4A1 silencer, A1 silencer, and this would be the material for M4A1 itself. So M underscore M4A1, and this is the mesh, the static mesh. This is the physics asset. This is the skeleton asset that created for AK-47. In fact, I'm gonna get in the M4A1. I'm gonna re-import that. I'll right click and I'll say delete, and I don't know why it's not. I'll bring this back in. I'll just bring in the M4A1 and drop it here, and I'll say I want this to be brought in as a skeleton mesh, and no, I'll just say clear. I don't want, I want it to create, so I'll just say import. Or in fact, I can use the AK-47 skeleton. I don't know, let's see. If something goes wrong, we can re-import it again. So I'll just import all, and it says fail to merge bones, no to all. So it won't actually bring that in as a skeleton mesh. That's okay. So this is AK-47 skeleton, M4A1, M4A1 weapon, M4A1 physics asset. Okay, that's great. And this is the M4A1 underscore silencer, and this is the physics asset. So I'll rename this as PA, or I'll just call this PHYS physics asset, or PHYSA underscore AK-47. Renaming is extremely important. And this is AK-47 skeleton, great. M4A1 silencer, and this is M4 physics asset for the silencer. So that would be PHYSA M4A1 silencer. Okay, and then this is the weapon itself. The preview mesh generate doesn't match to the skeleton. Would you like to regenerate skeleton? Yes. And if I hit F, and that's M4A1 looking great in all its glory. And this would be M4A1 weapon. So this is the weapon itself. This would be M4A1, and this would be PHYSA, that's physics asset underscore M4A1. That's great. And everything else has been named. And of course, this has to be called M underscore silencer. I won't bother naming it as M underscore M4A1. This would be M underscore M4A1. Okay, so now we have all of this. I'll just save all. Yes. And let's see. And let's put them all in their respective folders. So first thing is the mesh. That's where it is. And so I'll grab the skeleton. There's no skeleton for M4A1, so I'll grab the skeleton and drop it inside weapons. That's the AK-4. Go back here, weapons and skeleton, and move here. Okay, so that's moved there. This is the M4A1. That's the skeleton mesh. This is the silencer. That's okay. Now select all of these guys and move them inside materials, weapons, and move here. That's gone. And now these are the physics assets for all the three. I'll create a new folder called physics assets. Physics assets. Now we might not be using this at all. Oh, we already have it. Okay. All right. So if I go back to weapons, and I'll just drag all of these guys and select them and drop them inside weapons. That's a physics asset. Okay, and now it's time for us to bring in the textures, and inside here I'm gonna bring in all of these textures for M4A1 diffuse and everything and drop them inside. Hang on for a few seconds, and that should be in, and it says normal was imported as a normal map, of course, and then save all just in case. And there you go. And now you have the AK diffuse, AK normal, AK specular, and M4A1 diffuse. That's great. Okay, so now that we have all of that set up, let's actually go ahead and set up the materials for that. So we have the AK-47 here, and this is actually what it looks like, and it's got nothing, and so we have to change that. This is a normal diffuse parameter, which we're going to change that. So I'm going to delete this first, and I'm going to go over to my content browser, or better yet, I can go to the window, I can open a second content browser, and I can go over to my textures, weapons, and click on this and open up the AK-47, not MK-47, and click on T and drop one. Okay, if I click on T and click here, it should automatically fill this up with the AK diffuse because that's what was selected. See, and now we just do the same thing for the specular and the normal. So that's what it's there in order: base color, specular, and normal. So I'll click specular and I'll click T and I'll do that here. So that's specular, and then again I'll do that for the normal as well. Click T and bring that down, and now you may or may not close that, but I think I'll just keep it for a while, and because I want to do it for the M4A1 weapon as well. So now I'm gonna hook them up to the base color for the diffuse. For the specular, I believe specular, yes, that's specular, and specular in specular, and the normal in the normal pin, like that. And Now, if you want to check what it looks like on the weapon, so just come over here, go to the skeletal mesh, click on the weapons, AK-47, go back to the material and click on this little teapot so that you can see that weapon there in all its glory. Now, it will take a while for it to be applied. Now I can just zoom in and I can see what it looks like, and it's not looking bad at all. It's looking pretty good. And if you want, you can play around with the metallic values and the roughness values, or you can also bring in an ambient occlusion map and all of that. But we're not going to do any of that in this. Okay, so right now I just applied this to the weapon and I'll save it, and I'll just close that. Once that's saved, there you go, close that, and then come back here and then look for the second material, that is the M4A1. And M4A1, that would be this, and again close that. Now bring back your content browser, and again M4A1 diffuse, and there are no normal maps here, so just a diffuse map. So I'll just hit click, I'll just hit T and click and connect that to the base color, and then go back here, go back to my skeletal meshes and select M4A1 and just click on the teapot so that I can see the M4A1 weapon in all its glory, and it just take a minute, and that's as simple as that. A simple M4A1 rifles are always black in color, so that does justice to that. And we don't need any normal or specular for this, so that's okay. And I think I'll do the same thing for, I'll just close that.